Hello, hello. Give things a few minutes to kick in here. All right, dashboard is up. Oh, let's see. How can I get to live on YouTube? There we go. It's the live stream. I'm sure audio is working. Oh, let's see. How can I get to live on YouTube? It's working. Okay. And how do I go to... Studio Beta? Maybe this is where you want to go. I want to see... One second, and we're going to start it here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if I can see live on my iPad. I probably just need to get another computer to pull in here to start doing this, but yeah, we don't have that right now. So another computer, another screen. I'm doing this from a laptop in my kitchen. Well, the living dining room thing on the next to my kitchen. So I don't really have an official streaming place in my house set up yet, but I think that's going to be coming soon because I've been having a lot of fun doing this. If you are here, welcome, thank you. Appreciate you joining to see what we got going on here today. My name is Brian Morrison, software developer. I'm working on a application, working on this 100 Days of Code thing. I discovered it through Twitter right before the new year started. And what we're doing here is we're going to build we're building a CRM in Vue.js, and we're eventually going to migrate all of this up to be hosted serverless in AWS, but we're just building out a front end, kind of getting a shell set up here. What we did yesterday, if you didn't join me, is we created the shell of the application. We've created the a mock API using mockapi.io. So I want to actually go mockapi.io. Let's go there. Here's our CRM. Here's the data we put in here. We created a customer and a notes resource. So that's pretty basic there. We also tested to make sure it can pull the data. So let's fire this thing up here. Run serve. And we'll show you where we're at right now. Let's let this guy build here. If you haven't yet, if you're just joining for the first time, appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel on YouTube or subscribe to me on Twitch. Though I'm not quite sure what that means on Twitch yet. Still pretty new to Twitch, but yeah, either one of those, I really appreciate the support. If you have any requests, do me a favor and just reach out to me. You can contact me on Facebook or Twitter, at Brian Morrison, ME on Twitter. Okay, so we look to be live. It compiled successfully, so let's pull up what we got here so far. Localhost 8080. So this is it. There's nothing on the front end, on the front page right here. We're eventually going to make a dashboard I want to put here. But I did create a drop down to go to customers. You can see it does pull in a list of customers, which is the test data, just my kids' names. So what I think we're going to do today is we're going to create a form. I've got about 30 minutes, so we're going to run through this pretty quick. We're going to create a form that we could use to edit the customers, and we're going to see if we can actually create a new customer and send it up to the API. This is only my second time using mockapi.io. The first time being yesterday. So we're going to see if it works like any other API. It should be pretty straightforward. But yeah, let's go ahead and make some progress here. So Vuetify is the front-end framework or the front-end material framework that we're using. So we're going to go here and we're going to just grab out. I'm going to use the UI components in our documentation, and I'm going to grab, I think, a toolbar first. Let's create a toolbar. Although this looks like this, we don't want our toolbar to look like that. What we're going to do is we're going to add this above. Actually, let's see what we can do. I wonder if it wouldn't be better to add an add customer button up here where it says latest release. This was left in from yesterday, from when I put the base library in here. We're going to add a toolbar. We'll go that route. So let's go ahead and add our toolbar. And we're going to come into the index, customers index component. We're going to add the toolbar. Let's space this out. Save. Let's see what this looks like. Go ahead and refresh that. So that does not look anything like I expected it to. So view layout, view flex. Oh, we put it above the put it outside of the vflex. Let's go ahead and do this. Copy this and put this in here. That should give it the same, put it inside the same container. There you go, here's your toolbar. Not a huge fan of the way that that looks. I'm going to add some padding below this, and we're going to add our button over here on the left-hand side, eliminate a bunch of this other stuff here. So let's get rid of those. The title, we don't, let's get rid of all this. We'll change this to add customer, and we're going to get rid of these two extra things we don't need here, and I'm going to change this elevation. In here, in Vuetify, you can change the elevation of any element that you see here, which more or less removes the drop shadow. I can't remember if Toolbar is one you can do this with, or if you need to modify the CSS directly. So let's see what the, let's see, application layout, no. Pre-made styles and themes, self-elevation, here we go. So elevation hyphen N. So we'll do elevation 0 on this toolbar. And let's see what that gives us. Elevation 0 didn't really do anything, didn't remove how I expected it to. So we're going to modify this directly. We're going to inspect the element using Chrome. We're going to pick out the toolbar. And let's see here. What I think I want to do is do drop shadow 0, drop shadow none. Now, what are we looking for? It's box shadow? It's box shadow. Or did I go too far in? Yeah, here we go. Went too far down. So I was originally on the toolbar content. We want to go up to this nav tag here. And let's see what we got. Display block. Box shadow. Here we go. I know it's box shadow. There we go. So we'll do box shadow. I can do 0. Can I do 0? No. Let's try none. Box shadow none kind of does what I want it to. We're going to do a little playing around with the way that this looks too. So we know that's what we're looking for. So for the toolbar, instead of changing elevation, we're going to do class equals toolbar style. Okay, so we're going to go down to the bottom of this component, and we're going to add a class of toolbar style. Normally I wouldn't name it toolbar style. I'd come up with something a little bit nicer. Actually, let's do no minimal toolbar. Might make a little bit more sense. We'll rename it to minimal toolbar, box shadow none. That's what I did right. Box shadow none. Yeah, and let's do padding, margin, bottom. Let's give it 10 pixels of margin, and we'll do border 1px solid. Let's do C. No, that's not what I want. Maybe 3. See what that looks like. It's not very material, but let's round the corners a little bit. Border radius 3px. Let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna bring this up. We'll do. Nah, I don't like 666 because reasons. Okay, we're lightening this guy up. See how this comes out. Let's try A. There you go. That looks okay. I kind of like the way that looks. Okay, so we got our button here. We got a toolbar inside this component. Let's go ahead and line that up with something. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to, when we click on this button, it's going to pop up a dialog, which is going to let us type some text in. When we hit enter, it's going to send it up, or click save. It's going to send it up to the server, and then I'm going to refresh the page or refresh the data on the page. So this way that customer then does appear within our list here. So let's go and grab dialog or modal. I can't remember what they call it here. Let's see, dialog. Here we go. So we're going to do, I think this one does without the activator. Agree. Okay, so let's copy this guy. We don't need the button. We need the dialog. Let's copy the dialog, bring this guy in here. Now the dialog can kind of hover, it can kind of sit below anything. It doesn't appear on the page until we call it, and it doesn't modify the layout of the page generally. So we're going to leave that sit right there. I'm going to clean this up a little bit because I don't like all that. Get rid of our colors. I don't really, well, you know, we can leave the colors. Why not? Get rid of that. This can come out here. We're actually going to remove this altogether. I don't think we care about that. So we're going to change this to new customer. New customer. And we're going to do that like that. And for our V model, which actually displays if it's going to be, it actually designates whether this dialog is going to be displayed. We'll change this to a variable called isAddingCustomer. And then scrolling down into our data, we will create then a variable. That there isAddingCustomer. And we're going to leave that as null to start off with. I guess we can name it false. Okay, so that it shouldn't change the way any of this looks, but it did. It didn't like something. Dialog's not referred. Okay, we fixed that issue already. Then what we can do, so nothing showed. That's good. That's what we expected it to be. But for our V button we have up here, this Add Customer button we added into the toolbar earlier, we're going to add an add click, and we will do isAddingCustomer equals to true. So when this button is clicked, it's going to change the value of isAddingCustomer in our data function down here to true, which in turn is tied to the V model here for the V dialog box, and that is going to display our dialog. Now we didn't change much about this, so it's going to be pretty basic, but you'll get the idea. You'll see what it does. So when I click Add Customer, boom, it brings up my dialog of Add Customer. So I think there is an example here. Oh, not that one. Simple dialogues, overflowed, scrollable. Scrollable, I think, is what we want to do, and we can add a form in here. Here we go. There's the form. So we're going to take this form here. Let's see, V dialog, V button, activator, V card. So the V card looks like it's inside the dialog. So let's grab that. V card. Do I got V card over here? Yeah, I do. Okay, so I'm going to grab everything inside of V card text because that looks like that is where all of our actions happening. Span class headline user profile. Do I have headline here? Yeah, so all right, so we got vcard actions, we got a spacer. The spacer here, oh, let's clean that up a little bit. The spacer here basically slams these buttons over to the right. So our text, our vcard text is going to go right here. And that's a lot of stuff, I know. So we're going to go through and we're going to clean all this up. V layout. Let's see, where is this? Where are you at? You're right there. Okay, so let's select everything inside of our V layout. Pop that over. That looks good. That, I don't care. I'm not even going to bother changing that right now. Actually, we can, because we don't need any of these fields. So let's do, so we got a VFlex here. Everything below here, we basically can get rid of, right? Delete that guy. We don't have a middle name in our models, so we're going to get rid of that. Both these names should be required. We're going to change this to first name, and we're going to change this to last name. And I don't need a hint. It's required. I don't need a hint. It's required. Well, we might as well clean it up now. All right, so there's that. Indicates required field. That's fine. Vcard text is still not right. Pop that over like that. Okay, so let's save this now. See what we got. Add customer. Don't like the way that that looks. We are going to get rid of some of these modifiers here. How big do I have this whole thing? Max width is 290. We're going to increase the max width of the entire dialog to say 450. Okay, that looks a lot nicer. So you can see I can click between the fields and indicate required. That is exactly what we just changed it to, so very cool. The dialog box, now we got to wire it up so it saves the customer. So this click I'm going to do is adding customer equals false, and we're actually going to create our new customer model down here. So we'll create new customer, and it's going to be an object, and we're going to first name is null, and last name is null. Last name null. And we're going to tie. We're going to make the models for these fields be new customer.firstname and new customer.lastname. So let's see. We will do for the V, not the V button. Here we go. Here's our first one. So V model equals new customer.firstname. And we'll just copy paste this down here. New customer.lastname. Okay. Save that guy. And add customer. This is a test. Put that in here. Now, if you've never worked with Vue, Chrome is the best browser, in my opinion, that I'm aware of to use with Vue. Basically because there is this Vue extension that lets you take a look, drill down into some of these components and look at the data tied to them. So what we want to see is in the customer index field, we want to make sure the binding is happening properly. So we bound it to new customer.firstname and new customer.lastname. So you can see as I change something in here on the right-hand side, first name is also changing inside of the data model. This is a good way to validate that things are kind of wired up correctly. So we got that working. That's fine. First name, let's see, test customer. See, it's changing in there. Okay, so instead of leaving this, I'm going to make some modifications to the methods, which I don't know if this is going to reload, but we're just going to leave it for now. So is adding customer here. We don't want dialog equals false. Dialog doesn't even exist. We removed that earlier. So we're going to change this to cancel, and we're going to change this to save. Okay, and we're going to create a method called save new customer. Okay, like so. And down here, we will create a method called save new customer. Async save new customer. The reason I want this to be asynchronous is because the methods we created inside of, or the functions we created inside of the customer API service are also asynchronous. So it's going to wait for that to finish before it reloads the page. Otherwise, you run into the risk, if you don't call it asynchronously, that it's going to send the data up to the server and immediately reload the page without waiting for the server to return that it actually did something. The risk you can possibly run into there is you don't get the updated data, and it makes it look like nothing happened, even though it indeed did. So for save new customer, we're going to do, let's see, await customer API service dot save. What did I name this? Create customers. Save new. Oh yes, that's right, customers. We're going to save this, set this to match. Actually, do I want to do that? I'll do save customers. Yeah, save create new customer. Customers. I like that. I like it. I like it. I like it. So I'm going to move this guy and we're going to replace that. So create new customers. Now, if you did watch my video yesterday, I set this thing up so I could send I set it up so I can send an array of customers into the function. So instead of creating one customer, I opened up the possibility to create multiple new customers in one single HTTP request, as opposed to sending multiple HTTP requests per customer. So in that case, what we're going to have to do in order to do this is we're going to have to basically create a variable. So we're going to open an array, and we're going to do this.newCustomer, which, if I recall correctly, this basically adds new customer to an array and passes in to create new customers, which in turn is going to create the new customers. It's going to pass the array here. So let's see if this works. So await new customer. So we will go ahead and, what did I break? Why did that go away? Why did that go away? Click flat. Let's reload this. I don't know what happened there. It's still gone. And I don't get an error. Why don't I get it? That's weird. Save new customer. Save new customer. That was all we changed, right? Is adding customers true? Is adding customer is false to start off with. New customer. This dot new customer. Now, I don't believe that should fix it, but I don't know. So let's comment that out. And where did my button go? Is my button even there in the first place? I can actually check that by going in here, Vue Toolbar, Vue Button. It's there, it's just not there. Dialog, new customer. What did I do here? So I don't know what happened. I'm going to cancel this and rebuild this because that was weird. That should not have happened. See, that is lined up properly. That is lined up properly. That looks to be lined up properly. If anything, what I might end up doing, okay, so connection refused is finished now. Let's refresh this. My button is still gone. What the hell did I do wrong? This one took me by surprise, I'm not going to lie. I don't know why it's not showing. Create new customer. I'm going to comment out this entire guy here and just see what happens. See if it comes back. And it doesn't. Okay, let's get rid of our class and see what happens. Nothing. Hidden SM and down. Why is the class hidden SM and down? That's what, I don't know, because I shrunk the window and I guess I didn't notice what I did earlier. So hidden SM and down is a Boolean statement, or apparently it's a class. I did not know that was a class. I think I tried doing this once in another application. It didn't work, but we don't want that to be hidden. The toolbar items, we want them to keep available. I guess in case if you want it hidden SM and down, you can basically remove it if it's too small, and that would be into another menu, kind of like we had set up before, but you would do that as like SM and up, or MD and up, I guess. All right, so yeah, there we go. Freak myself out over nothing. Uncomment that, and to do await this dot. Actually, we don't need to do that. I think just this got get customer data. So this dot get customer data is going to refresh our data there then too. Okay, so let's see. We created the toolbar. We created the form inside the dialog box, which is here, and we created the function which ties into the backend, ties into the customer API service file, and we're going to see if this works. I'm going to refresh it one more time for brevity. New customer, test customer, click save, and okay, it did something. I don't think it did what I expected it to do, but it did something because we have a new line here. Let's see what we did. Let's refresh this, and we have a customer, but let's see what it did. I want to see what the existing data is. I have a feeling I know what it did, but yeah, okay, so it didn't do what I expected it to, and I don't know why is this here? Let's get rid of this. We're going to save it, and we're going to try this again. And I want to see if it creates all that dummy data like it did, because that's weird if it does. So we're going to refresh this. We're going to go back to our 3 customers, add a customer. I'm just going to add my name, Brian Morrison. Save. Added what I expected it to. Oh, we can tweak it so this way it closes that once it's done. Let's look at the data. Let's refresh this actually, and then look at the data. Look at data. So it adds some other stuff in there. That's weird. So it passes the array. I didn't do something right here. Customer API service, we're going to do a console. We're going to console log customers data. Console.log customers data. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Because what this should be is this should be an array. But if I'm adding an object to an array, I bet you that is what I'm doing. I bet you it's an object inside of an array instead of an array of, that's what we want it to be though. I don't know, let's see. So because I added the console.log, when I try and do this again, test customer, what it's going to do is it's going to appear over on my right hand side in my dialog, in my console box. Okay, so duplicate keys detected, not a number error. Okay, so it added, now that is what I expected it to be. An array with element 0 is first name and last name. That is what I expected it to be. I feel like something's funky with this API, mockapi.io. Let's see here. Image URL. Object template optional. Is this a thing? Do I need this thing in here? I don't know. It's asking down here. So if I do, let's see, in addition to resource schema, you can define mustache template. Templates only have one variable. First last schema optional. Object ID created at. Your first name. We'll do, I guess, ID. Guess we got to pass an ID. First, well, all right. Name, string, last name, string. I was expecting an ID. Post customer. Maybe this thing does not like being sent arrays, and that's why it added it the way that it did. Oh yeah, I just destroyed everything in here. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm actually going to, see, does this need to be a number? It says object ID. Data, no, edit. Object ID. Define, used to generate mock data. All right, so let's actually, we're gonna just whack all that stuff. Get rid of it all. Open, close, bracket, an array of stuff. Now, we did that. Let's look at the data and see what it shows us. It doesn't show us anything. Okay, it likes a number there. Can I put a GUID there? Because that's what I usually use for my IDs. ID 1122 AB. First name Ryan. Last name Morrison. Let's see if it'll take this. Update. it liked it. So let's look at the data again. Last one. Okay, it liked my strings. All right, so what we're going to do, and I've done this in situations where I'm trying to generate an ID. npm install save UUID. UUID is an npm library that's used to generate unique identifiers. This is what I usually use to generate unique identifiers for anything that I'm working with, just because you're pretty much guaranteed they're going to be unique without having to reference a database. If there is a better way of doing it, somebody let me know. This is just what I've come to learn and know. So, okay. So that is set up. So we're going to do npm run serve to build the project out again. And while that is doing its thing, what we can do is we're going to actually import UUID here. Import UUID from, let's see, we're going to do UUID v4. Use the version 4. You can go look at the documentation on that if you want. In fact, I'll link it to the card, the Trello card that I'm going to create for today's deal. So UUID v4. Okay, so that's there. And we're going to create we're actually going to create a function here called async generate new customer. And let's see here. We're going to also add an ID field here. ID null. But then what we want to do is we basically want to call generate new customer anytime we want to populate this. Let's see. Let new customer equals do ID UUID v4, which is going to create it's going to create that new identifier. First name null, last name null. If you don't set it to null, Vue will complain, because if I just did this, if I just got rid of that, right, just put a new UUID, it's going to remove these two fields here. And because Vue does not see these, it will complain because it doesn't know how to properly bind these fields up here, the first name and last name, to this object right here. It just doesn't know how to do it. So we're going to leave those there, and we're going to say this dot new customer equals new customer. Okay, now we could do this one fell swoop, but I'd like to separate it out. Okay, so that looks good. So let's see here. What we will do is we can create a watch to watch this is adding customer. But what instead I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do this dot generate new customer. There is a better way to do this using watchers. Whenever basically this object flips to true, it'll generate a new customer. But for now, I'm just going to say in the created. So when the object is created, or when the component is created in the browser, it's going to go ahead and add that ID in here, and we'll have our ID when we want to send it up to the server. It also doesn't look like we can send it up as an array like I was hoping we could. So that's going to have to go like that. This .new customer is going to send in there. So that is that. And then when cancel, when save. So after we save the customer, we also want to call this dot generate new customer. Otherwise, we'll have a conflict when it tries to save it. So we're going to move that up. And you normally, in other cases, I would also wrap this in a try-catch block to make sure we're solving any errors. But again, I'm trying to crank through this pretty quickly. I'm out of time kind of as it is because people are going to be coming home here soon. So we'll leave that there. All right, so that all looks good. We got to come over here. We're going to have to change this as well. So customer data, we're going to do first name. Let's see, we'll do ID. Customer data dot first dot ID. First name. Customer data dot first name, last name, customer data dot last name. And we're going to actually do a replace here because we want to get rid of customers data. We want to get rid of customers data, and And we want to replace customer data because it's only a single customer. Naming is important. Okay, so I think this should work for us now. So let's go back into our Vue app, and I'm going to refresh. We're going to have a bunch of stuff. Lots of customers. Yeah, okay, so let's actually just, I'm going to delete all this. So data, I'm going to set this back to nil, to nothing. All right, back to fresh. So Brian Morrison, save, and voila, it worked. Okay, so now if I go back into our mock API, and this was kind of an element. If I'm designing an API myself, generally I'll design it to accept an array of elements. I don't want it to accept a single thing because I feel it's more effective. It allows more flexibility because if you only create an API endpoint to accept a single object, if you ever wanted to create multiple objects in a single call, you can't. You'd have to send separate calls for every single object you want to create, which in a situation like this, it's fine. But updating is another good thing. So like if you had a table of data and you wanted to I don't know, change a field in 5 or 6 different objects from true to false or something like that. In the UI, you can select those. You hit a button that you kind of designed to say, hey, the selected objects, I want to set these to false in the API. Well, if you have it set up so it's an array, you can send it all in one shot. If you have it set up to where it's accepting a single object, you have to make 5 or 6 separate calls and hope they all work. And only then will you actually be able to change all those. Again, it's, for something like this, it's not a big deal, but in practice, I feel it's better to design it that way. All right, so we're here. Now, the next thing I want to do is I actually want to change it so when I hit save, it closes the is adding customer. So we're also going to set this .is adding customer equals false. Now what I can do is hit save, Cooper, Morrison, hit save, and now it goes away and refreshes it. I can also, I have to look up the code on how to do this, but you can set it so when you hit enter, it tries to send it as well. The other thing I will also generally do is I will replace this and I will say save and new. And we'll do save new customer. And save new customer, we're going to actually change this to true. There's a better way to do this. We're going to try something I've never tried before. Close dialog. Keep dialog open equals true. And we're going to see if this works. Why is it complaining? Avoid using JavaScript keywords as v-on. Huh? I don't know what that means either. So let's see. We will do keep dialog open. So if we're going to put this in an if statement. If keep dialog open, if not, keep dialog open. Yeah, it didn't like that. All right, so we're not gonna do this. What we will do, oh, hold on a second. Actually, let's do, is it like that? Looks like it likes that. That's probably what I was originally going for. So let's refresh this just to be on the safe side. Now we have save and new, we have save. So we'll do Luca Morrison, save, it closes it, and we'll do Crystal Morrison, and we'll save and new. Now you can see it saved it, it added it into background, and it cleared out the form so this way I can instantly create another one. So unknown baby Morrison. Save. There we go. So that works. Okay, so what we did today is we designed a form, we added a toolbar into this component, and we designed a form embedded inside of a dialog so we can add a customer in here. It sends it up to the API using Axios. We had to do some slight tweaks in order to get it to work with mockapi.io. And I think that about does it. So if you did join me today, I really appreciate it. If you're interested in more of this content, send me a message, or you can subscribe, like, share, whatever. I don't know. Help me out. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and push this up to GitHub. I'll go ahead and post a link on the YouTube video with a link to my Trello board I'm using to track most of this stuff, so you can get everything there. And with that, everybody have a good evening. Thanks.